light your fire, then your wood is wet. That's what you would say. So how many want to praise the Lord tonight? I said don't sit down. You heard me. You do whatever you want tonight, but there is joy in the house tonight, right? We want to see Jesus lifted up tonight, right? And so I was supposed to do the welcome here tonight, and so welcome, and let's worship. Here we go. We're going to hear from Tyler a little later. How many of you want to hear a reboot testimony tonight from Rock Lake Ministries? How many of you want to hear that tonight? 2 people? Come on, how many people want to hear a reboot testimony tonight? I love it. I love it. Let's just praise him together tonight. Yeah, let's do House of the Lord. We worship the God who was. We worship the God who is. We worship the God who evermore will be. We caught in the raging sea. My God, He holds the victory. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We'll shout your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in His place. And we won't be quiet. We'll shout your praise. Oh, we'll shout out your praise. Let's sing that again. We worship the God. Verse 1. We worship the God who was. We worship the God who is. We worship the God who evermore will be. You open the prison doors. He parted the raging sea. My God, He holds the victory. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We'll shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. We won't be quiet. We'll shout out your praise. We'll shout out your praise. We sing, come on. We sing to the God who heals. We sing to the God who saves. We sing to the God who always makes a way. He hung up on that cross. He rose up from the grave. My God, till holy souls away. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We'll shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. And we won't be quiet. We'll shout out your praise. We'll shout out your praise. We were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing. Let's sing that again. We were the beggars. We were the beggars. Now we're royalty. We were the prisoners. Now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing. should stop clapping. Let's explode right now in praise tonight. We focus all of our attention and all of our affection on you tonight, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Oh, my words fall short. I got nothing new. How could I express all my gratitude? I could sing these songs as I often do. And every song must end, and you never do. So I throw my hands and praise you again and again. 'Cause all that I have is a hallelujah. Hallelujah. And I know it's not much, but I'm nothing else fit for a king, except for a heart singing hallelujah. I've got one response. I've got just one goal. With my arms stretched wide, I will worship you. So I throw my hands and praise you again and again. 'Cause all that I have is a hallelujah. Hallelujah. And I know it's so much, but I'm nothing else but wait for a king. 'Cause all that I have is a So come on, my soul, don't you get shy on me. Lift up your song, 'cause you got a lion inside of those lungs. Get up and praise the Lord. Come on, encourage your soul tonight. With the lions in our lungs tonight. Come on, let's pray. Come on, my soul, don't you get shy on me. Lift up your song, 'cause you got a lion inside of those lungs. Get up and praise the Lord. So don't you get shy on me. Lift up your song, 'cause you got a lion Tonight we release him right now in Jesus' name. You're worthy of it all. For from you are all Thank you. For from you are all things, to you are all things, and you deserve the glory. You're worthy of it all. Just the voices. Hallelujah. You are worthy of it all. From you are all things, to you are all things. You deserve the glory.
We're going to pause just for a second. Don't even pause, just keep flowing. So we launched a program last year called Reboot, which was nothing like what we thought it was going to be, staff or students. And the idea was, there's just moments in life sometimes, no matter how old you are, where you need a landing spot. Just things have happened, you know, and you need a family, you need a community. And it seemed like over the last few years, people were landing here. It seemed like they just had nowhere else to go. And they weren't homeless yet, but they didn't know what to do. And so we launched Reboot, and we had one student, that was Tanya, and we were like primed for a really small winter. And then I was praying for help in the fall. Legitimately. I was just like, God, there is no way. You have made things too busy. You know, and scripture says that the harvest is plentiful and the workers are few. But then it gives us a command to pray to the Lord of the harvest for workers. So I literally was praying for workers, and I get this phone call from Esther, who had been volunteering with us for a year, working, painting and fixing things up. She's like, so I'm in a situation and I want to be in Reboot. You're like, okay, like when? Like now. And she sold her house, and she picked up stocks, and she quit her job, and she just went, I'm out. So I'm going to invite Esther up, the Duchess. I'm not going to give your whole testimony for you. I'm going to prime it. What's really cool about Esther is pretty much by the time, as soon as she got here, we understood she was royalty. Like almost immediately. There was like, seriously, there was like a royal glow on top of Esther. And so I was cheeky one day and I just said, Esther von Esterson. And she's like, whatever. And what Esther really needed to understand this year is her identity as a daughter, as a princess. And so it stuck. And so we called it that for a couple of weeks until that all fell off and we just said the Duchess. So legitimately around here, this is the Duchess. She's royalty. And it kind of fits, it's awesome. So, it fits. It fits. So what I want you to do is just share anything you think people should know about your experience here this year, because you are literally, I think, to the day, 1 month away from graduation. So, you want to share with people what this has been like for you this year?
Overwhelming, crazy, wonderful, life-changing, soul-changing, mind and body changing. It's just everything. It's everything. Amazing teacher. So what made you decide to be a teacher, Todd?
I told you she's royalty.
Just thought I'd try to switch that. Today is actually the 1-year anniversary of my divorce. And then in a month from today, I'm graduating. And then mid-September, I'm leaving, because this is a 1-year program. And God has literally given me a home church, already a place to live, and a possibility of a job. I've done lots of jobs, I've been a manager all over and done all kinds of stuff. But here, I just turned 57 2 weeks ago, and I just feel like this is my do-over to do something different. Not do what I did, but to do something different. And having been here, I just really learned that what I was is maybe parts of what God has made me to be, who I'm meant to be, but there's so much more going forward. And from here, I'm just going forward. No more backwards. We had an analogy in class one day. I grew up on a farm, driving tractor, plowing the field, and seeding, and you don't look behind you when you're seeding, because that's when everything goes wrong. You look forward, and you just keep looking ahead and forward to what's next and what's going to happen next. And that's what I'm looking forward to. Going to miss being here like crazy, but I'm definitely going to be coming back all the time. I have a solid room there, that's mine. I painted it, it has me all over it. I came with my wall hangings and my family pictures and my bed. So it's been great. It's been more than great.
Thanks, Esther. Nice big hand for Esther and the other students. This has been it was a long year for them. I mean, we go 6 days a week, so like we get 1 day off if they're lucky, and we are 7 in the morning till like 11 at night every day, 6 days a week. It gets intense for them, but obviously life altering. So let's so you.
You know what I love? I just want to take that just a moment, and I want to say, like, I love the concept of Reboot. I'm getting to know it a little bit here. I love it. I'm getting to know a lot of people here at the camp, and gotta flip the switch. How's this for a brand new microphone? Come on, somebody. Yes. Sometimes you just gotta flip the switch. Somebody write that down for yourself right now. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Instead of flipping out, flip the switch. So good. I want to give honor to the Reboot program, because, by the way, 7 to 11, that sounds like our program too. It's a pretty hefty program, right? Dakin? He's like, yeah, holding the camera. The camera's gonna go like this right there, and we've been doing this for every night, and I just want to acknowledge that we're on holy ground tonight. Can we just do that? We've been singing this song just to start our sessions, and can you sense the Lord's presence here tonight? Can you sense it? Can you sense that He wants to do something once again that will blow our minds? Are you ready for that tonight? Can we just one more time tonight? Can we just rise? You know, we in Joshua, remember he met up with this guy, and he's like, remember we were talking about this, and he meets up with this man, and he says, Are you for us or are you against us? Remember that? We talked about that last night, and the guy says, neither. I love that because I love the idea that we don't have to try to pretend, oh, God is on my side and God's on your side. Listen, let's follow God because we're on His side. And we want to acknowledge that we are on holy ground. And so, Father, just move here tonight. Have your being here tonight. Do your thing. Do your thing. Let's just sing this. We are standing on holy ground. I sprung it on them, but I know there are angels, and I know that there are angels. Can we sing it twice tonight? Just declare it right now. We are standing on holy ground, on holy ground. And I know that there are angels all around, all around. So we praise, let us praise. We praise Jesus, Jesus now. Let's just sing the last line again. We are standing in His presence on holy ground. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Just keep on playing, Dave. Just before you sit down, just say, just turn to your neighbor and just say, this is holy ground here tonight. Yes, yes it is. Yes it is. And turn to your other neighbor and say, and you're part of it. Even though you were my second choice to turn to. Right? Or an empty seat. Joshua 24, verse 14 and 15. I told you we jump around a lot in Joshua. So we're going right to the end of Joshua's life, and he's at this place where he has served, he has conquered and conquered and conquered and conquered. We're going to look a little bit at that tonight too. And he has seen many victories. And so he's giving his farewell address to the people that he's been leading. Joshua 24, verse 14 and 15. And he's giving them a challenge at the end of his life, and a lot of you know this challenge, right? But just read this with me or listen to this. He says, so fear the Lord and serve him wholeheartedly. Put away forever the idols your ancestors worshipped. Put them away, right? When they lived beyond the Euphrates River in Egypt. Serve the Lord alone. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose today who you will serve. He's like, I'm not forcing you, but make your decision. Would you prefer the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates? Or would it be the gods of the Amorites in whose land you live now? But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord, he says, right? And it's a great summary declaration of where he wanted to go. He says, this is my stand, right? We know that statement, right? You see it. A lot of people have it in their entrance. It's like you see it in different people's places. Usually, Grandma Weeb has done the crocheting of it. You know what I mean, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? And bless her heart, right? But Grandma Weeb knew that she would serve the Lord, and she wanted me to have it too. You fill in the gap. You know what I mean. I'm not making light of it, but it's the declaration, right? So we're doing something. We're on night number 2 of something that we call the Joshua Encounter, and the reason that I wanted to share it with you is because it's just a little taste and see of something that we are part of this whole summer in Adult and Teen Challenge. If you can go to the second slide, and I just want to show you. I mean, we're part of a big family. So this was a couple weeks ago at the Summit Church in Thunder Bay with all the men and women of our Thunder Bay ministry, and you'll see men and women being changed in Thunder Bay, and you'll see men and women's lives being changed in our Dryden location, and you'll see tomorrow night, if you're here, you'll see some amazing visitors from our Adult and Teen Challenge Manitoba Women's Campus that are going to be here tomorrow night to share some testimonies, and Denair Beach, Saskatchewan, just across from Flin Flon, and then of course downtown Winnipeg. Come on, hello Winnipeg, right? And so there's a lot of stuff going on in our ministry, and we have a men's campus in Steinbach, and we have how many of you have visited one of our super thrift stores? Yeah. So it's just something that we love to run. We love super thrift, and we love thrifting. You can get $5 coaches there. No, I'm just kidding. That's an inside joke. If you were here a few nights ago, we probably wouldn't put a coach like that into our store. But we love clean stores. We love well-organized stores. And I like to think that you can come for a shirt, but you leave with an experience, because everywhere there's testimonies on the walls. We shamelessly play Christian music in our stores. And so we have 5 stores actually throughout Central Canada, and so it's really neat to see when that God is moving. Thank you to all of the band members that have done so much. You guys don't need to sit up here all night. It's going to be 2 hours or so, but you can if you want. No, it won't be 2 hours, but you can. I've just asked Dave to stay in his office here tonight because isn't Dave an awesome leader? And we're so blessed. And I guess you could say we went through a mentorship together, and after he graduated the program, I got to work with him for quite a while, and I'm really blessed by him. And we don't actually get to work together too much anymore because he has really taken the mantle in Winnipeg, and they're really blessed to be under his worship leadership every day. Slide. I just want to go to. I just want to, tonight we just want to talk a little bit about direction, and the reason direction is so important is obvious. We like to know where we're going, right? And if there might be 1 or 2 extra sheets and stuff from the workbooks and stuff, if you like to take notes, but really the story of Joshua is so much about direction, because he took over from Moses, who was the superstar, right? And he was the person that took them out of Egypt, and he led them up until the promised land, right? And here's Joshua, and he takes them from the old land into the new land. And I'm gonna grab my Bible. This is a touch off script, and I want to just share one thing with you in the book of Joshua. And I just feel like I have just a quick little word for you out of Joshua chapter 3. And some people ask me, I love the New Testament, don't get because they're like, why you're in the Old Testament all week long? And some people are like, yo, Terry, why are you always in the Old Testament this week? And my answer is pretty simple, because it's in the Bible. Are you with me? Okay. I love the Bible. We're gonna use the New Testament a bit tonight, but I love the Old Testament because the Old Testament has such real, raw, powerful stories. We're gonna learn about kind of like a twisted dude named Achan tonight a little bit, and some of the problems that he created, and we're gonna learn more about Joshua, and we're gonna learn about a few of these people. But I want to start with something because this is part of the story of Joshua. But in Joshua chapter 3, the Israelites, it's the story of the Israelites crossing Jordan, and I sense this week a couple of things. I sense that some of you are praying very intently for your loved ones, and we're gonna actually in your little book there, I just put something in there that absolutely wrecked me recently when I was just getting it ready, and I just revised it a bit on just a really effective way to pray protection over your loved one, especially when they are not in a place where they should be. And some of you will be like, I know exactly what you're talking about, so I don't even need to explain it more. But some of you are there right now. You're in that place. Your loved one, things are not right in a relationship, or things are not right in their own personal life and in their walk. And it's just it's an incredible prayer that you can pray over them. And we've kind of worked through this when we go to different places. our different campuses. But we're going to be studying Joshua at every campus this summer at Adult and Teen Challenge. And really, Adult and Teen Challenge is about freedom from addiction, but it's about introducing people to Jesus Christ as that process and as our anchor. And that's kind of counter-cultural. It's not something that our culture likes to hear about very much. That's why we have to get creative, and we don't receive government funding for anything that we do because of that stance. And that's okay with us, because we have always found that God, whatever God brings us to, He brings us through. Are you with me? Right? And so, Tyler, you know that with your ministry, right? Like, if God brought us to it, He'll bring us through it, right? And so that's what we stand on. And that's why I wanted to talk about the crossing of the Jordan, because God brought them to the Jordan, but He also brought them through the Jordan. And for some of you, there's a couple of verses I want to highlight. In Joshua 3 verse 5, it says, "Then Joshua told the people, 'Purify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do great wonders among you.'" We're going to talk a little bit about purifying a little bit tonight. But what I love is he told. So it says the people left their camp to cross the Jordan, and so in verse 14, I'll just pick it up there. It says, "So the people left their camp to cross the Jordan, and the priests who were carrying the Ark of the Covenant went ahead of them." Now, the Ark of the Covenant was the representation of God's presence, right? And that's why it was a holy thing, and that's why the priests would carry the ark ahead of them. They wouldn't touch it; they would carry it on poles, and so it would go ahead as a sign that God's presence was going ahead of them. And I love this part of the story. It says, "But as soon so they were carrying the Ark of the Covenant, went ahead of them." Verse 15, "It was this harvest season, and the Jordan was overflowing its banks." We know a little bit about overflowing banks this spring, right? And even the lake is still high, right? "But as soon as the feet of the priests who were carrying the ark touched the water at the river's edge, the water above the point began backing up at a great distance away at a town called Adam, which is near Zarethan, and the water began below that point, flowed into the Dead Sea." So what I want to just point out here is that some of you have been brought to your Jordan River, and you need to step into the river in order for some sort of amazing miracle to be activated. And that may not be the case for everybody, but some people that'll make sense to you, that you're going to need to make a step towards that miracle. Okay? So do you receive that tonight? If that's you, I just wanted to tell you that tonight. I love this summary that Joshua makes. "I will serve the Lord." And so slide, that's what the first big thing that I want to tell you tonight. Joshua chapter 24, if you have family, you'll understand that, right? If you have any idea, any plans to make a family ever in the future, there's no better summary statement that you can make that you are going to serve the Lord, right? This is why a lot of times that's why a lot of times, like I said, we go into someone's home and you see grandma has crocheted it for us and given it to us as a gift, or we have put it up in our entrance, that this is our declaration. This is who we're going to serve. And so we're going to look at two main thoughts tonight, okay? I will serve the Lord, but we're going to look at two main thoughts tonight. One main part is going to be dealing with the past for ourselves, and we're going to talk about that, full obedience. And there's no better way to move forward than to release the things that you're carrying, right? And the second thing is we're going to just discover just a couple of things that I have learned in the study of Joshua and in general about how important it is to about some things that we need to do in order to move forward and to make that step. Okay, and so we'll talk a little bit about that. So slide. I need a volunteer tonight. Is there someone that can be a volunteer? Totally. Come on up here. Perfect. Now, just for the sake of everybody, what's your name? Mervin. Mervin turned 19 today. Today. Today's Merv's birthday. This is off script, but I don't know. Can we sing happy birthday to him? This was not planned. I didn't know he was going to be the volunteer, but hey, man, it's your loss. You get embarrassed because you volunteered to come up here on your birthday. So Dave, give us something here. So, happy birthday to you. Come on.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
Dear Mervyn, 19, by the way. Happy birthday to. All right, good. You're welcome. Happy birthday. He blesses us all, right? Every single time I come here, I'm blessed by Mervyn. So, so now we've got to focus again, Merv. Thanks for being the guy that came up here. Now you took 2 minutes of our time here tonight because of your birthday. Okay. So Mervyn, what's this?
A cup of water.
Couple. Well, it's not full, right?
It's a half full cup of water.
You gave away my punchline, Merv. Actually, I was going to ask you a question. I'd like you to hold this cup, and I'd like you to hold it out with your straight arm and just at least level here like this. Okay? Yeah, that's perfect. That's awesome. Just kind of hold it there. I do have a question about this cup of water. And yes, I expected that people would think that I would ask, is the glass half full or the glass half empty, right? But that's not what I'm going to ask tonight. I'm going to ask you, how heavy is it?
Right now, not so bad.
How heavy is it?
I'd say about half pound. Not half pound.
I never want you to make a burger for me, Merv. Just saying. I'd rather have Silvio make burgers for me.
I'd say it's about 3 ounces.
Okay, actually, it doesn't matter how heavy it is, right? It actually doesn't matter, and this is why I don't think it's really that matter. So, it really depends how long you hold it, right? It depends how long you hold it, and that's how heavy it's going to get. Are you with me tonight? Okay, so if you hold it for a minute, no problem, right? You can do that. I felt your shoulders, man. Like you do some working out around here. You probably, you carrying trays and doing dishes and whatever. So it's not going to be a big deal. 1 minute is not a big deal. You'd hold it for 10 minutes. You probably would have a little bit of an ache in your arm, probably, and you wouldn't admit it. I mean, we could test it, right? We could just have Merv just sit here all night, or stand here all night. Let's just see if hey, it's already starting to tilt a little bit. I thought you were like the right guy for this. You gotta be on the level for sure. Just keep it. Yeah, thank you. All right. So if Merv, you'd hold it for 10 minutes and you'd be all right, probably for a bit, right? You hold it for 20 minutes. You'd probably start feeling a little bit of tingling going on. After an hour, if you could do it, you probably would start feeling numbness, right? And you might not even feel that it's there, and you definitely would be tempted to see the sagging happening and stuff like that. But really, would you agree with me that it doesn't matter how heavy this is? It just depends how long you hold it, right? Can I tell you something tonight? That all of the burdens that you ever have had to carry in your life, it doesn't matter how heavy they are, but they'll always get heavier the longer you hold them, right? Yesterday we have a saying, and we have a saying, and you see it in front of you in Adult and Teen Challenge. Yesterday is heavy. Put it down. I want to talk a little bit about that tonight. I want to just talk about putting yesterday down because this is a seemingly very insignificant weight. But I'll tell you, Merv wouldn't be able to hold this forever. He wouldn't be able to just stand here for a long time. I'm going to give you a break now, but I'll let you wake up your hand again. But good job and happy birthday. Okay, thanks, Merv. All right. Do you want this? I didn't drink from it. That's your reward. Happy birthday. Back in chapter 24, we read this, right? Remember when Joshua, he said, put away forever the idols that your ancestors worshipped when they lived beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt. Serve the Lord alone. So are you understanding what we're talking about tonight? So if you have if you have this mentality that you have decided that you are going to carry around what may not have seemed heavy in the moment, you're like, you know what, I know what I did to my son years ago, and I know that I shouldn't have done it, but you know what, I'm going to carry it because I know that it makes me feel better to know that I'm paying the price every single day, right? And that's what we do a lot, right? We would rather pay an automatic deposit to the devil sometimes. Are you with me? I don't want to step on toes, but this is a hard word, right? Sometimes we would rather pay an automatic deposit to the devil, maybe once a week, whatever the amount is. We'd have a prearranged deposit with him so that every week we can just pay him, and we can just keep paying, so that every week we can be reminded of what we've carried from the past, right? Do you think that is from the Lord? No, of course not, right? And we want to just address that a little bit tonight. Tonight might be a night for you to put down some heavy things. More importantly, it might be a time for you to remove some obstacles that were keeping you from being strong and courageous. We talked about that last night, right? How many of you heard the story of conquering Jericho? Right? And we're still not going to talk about it tonight. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, I promise. We'll actually dedicate a fair amount of time to the conquering of Jericho tomorrow. But we touched on it yesterday with Rahab, right? That's a powerful thought about the fact that Rahab is one of the heroes or heroines in this story. But what God was asking of the Israelites was that they would give complete obedience. So I want to talk tonight, I want to talk about complete obedience. Joshua 6, verse 18 and 19. So again, I make no apologies for this, but we are bouncing around a lot in Joshua, okay? And it's going to help us with just understanding the picture of this. This is not a chronological, expository type of, going through it word by word and verse by verse. This is us looking at the big picture of a great story. Joshua 6, 18 and 19. So they're getting ready to go into Jericho and to take over Jericho. And God, through Joshua, gives an instruction to them. He says, do not take any of the things set apart for destruction. So he wanted full destruction, right? Or you yourselves will be completely destroyed, and you will bring trouble on yourselves, or you yourselves will be completely destroyed, and you will bring trouble on yourselves. And the camp of Israel, sorry. Verse 19, everything made from silver, gold, bronze, or iron is sacred to the Lord and must be brought into his treasury. So he's very clear, right? He says, don't take the plunder for yourself, and anything valuable should go into God's possession. In other words, it belongs to God and not to you. So in the very next chapter, I want to read one sad verse to you, 7 verse 1. It says, sorry, I had to. Chapter 7, verse 1. But Israel violated the instructions about the things set apart for the Lord. A man named Achan had stolen some of the dedicated things, so the Lord was very angry with the Israelites. Achan was the son of Carmi, a descendant of Zimri, son of Zerah, the tribe of Judah. So one guy disobeys the rules. He stole the stuff, right? It says later in the chapter, in the same chapter, how Israel immediately, we don't know this in the moment, because remember, we're in this story, don't know what the end is, because we're reading it in real time here right now. But it says later in the chapter that after this, Israel fought against a group called Ai, right? You may know this story, and what happened? They lost, right? And so it's very interesting. So they lost their first battle after this thing happened with Achan. It was a secret sin. And in verse 16, so we're in chapter 7, verse 16 now, it says, early the next morning, Joshua brought the tribes of Israel before the Lord, and the tribe of Judah was singled out. Then the clans of Judah came forward, and the clan of Zerah was singled out. Then the families of Zerah came forward, and the family of Zimri was singled out. it's like a process of elimination. And every member of Zimri's family was brought forward person by person, and Achan was singled out. Verse 19, then Joshua said to Achan, my son, give glory to the Lord, the God of Israel, by telling the truth. Make your confession and tell me what you have done. Don't hide it from me. And Achan replied, it's true. I have sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel. Among the plunder I saw a beautiful robe from Babylon, 200 silver coins and a bar of gold weighing more than a pound. I wanted them so much that I took them. They are hidden in the ground beneath my tent, with the silver buried deeper than the rest. So Joshua sent some men to make a search. They ran to the tent and found the stolen goods hidden there, just as Achan had said. You'd think, well, he told the truth, so it's good, right? Not really. But they found it exactly like he had said, with the silver buried beneath the rest. They took the things from the tent and brought them to Joshua and all the Israelites. Then they laid them on the ground in the presence of the Lord. Then Joshua and all the Israelites took Achan, the silver, the robe, the bar of gold, his sons, daughters. I'm in chapter 7, verse 24. Cattle, donkeys, sheep, goats, tents, and everything he had. And they brought them to the valley of Achor. Then Joshua said to Achan, why have you brought trouble on us? The Lord will now bring trouble on you. And all the Israelites stoned Achan with his family and burned their bodies. They piled a great heap of stones over Achan, which remains to this day. This is why the place has been called the Valley of Trouble ever since. So the Lord was no longer angry. I understand Tyler when he said this morning, I don't focus too much on the Old Testament because there's a lot of law and judgment there. Okay, so I'm a grace kind of guy. If you know anything about me, like honestly, in our ministry, in fact, we actually often reflect on the value of having law people and grace people, because there's a lot of value in that. So I've learned a lot about law, not in Old Testament type of law, but in law being that it's really important to be completely obedient, right? It's so important, and so I'm a grace kind of guy. I love to be positive. I mean, I would love it if we could jump from sunshine to pillowy clouds to Reese's Pieces, and I'd be good. I'd be like, this is perfect for me. Let's just be positive all the time. Anybody like that? Just be honest. That's me. I'm just being honest, right? That's how we like to be. And some of us are like, I don't understand that, because the rules are the rules, and there's such value to both sides of that, right? But we learn as well, though, that we can learn a lot from the other side, whatever side is opposite of ours. But I also recognize, I have to remind myself that God is holy, okay? And he's so holy, there's no one like him, and he's created things, and no one else has created things like he has. And so he wants all of us, right? I just want us to be reminded of that tonight. Like, he wants all of us. He doesn't want part-time Christians. He doesn't want part-time commitments. He wants all of us, because there's a perfect plan for us, and the more we give full obedience to him, the more we're going to get that perfect plan implemented into our lives, and it's going to be success for us. It actually will be successful for us. And so this kind of relationship, so he wants all of us, and that might sound really upside down because some of us have had a really traumatic past. Some of us have had, and I acknowledge that, some of us have had very, very dark and maybe abusive or maybe oppressive pasts. And this kind of extreme law, it just brings out in us everything that from our past that shouldn't be brought up again. You know what I mean? And I recognize all of that, but this kind of relationship from God is different, right? This is not religion, this is relationship. And he loves you so much. And he knows that the best outcome for your life and for my life is complete obedience. And so I'm just focusing on that a bit tonight. Call it the hard word part of what I'm talking about tonight. But that's just really, really important for me tonight. In fact, I just want to point out something. Slide. By the way, let me just show you. I took that a couple weeks ago. Those are all the these are men and women from our Dryden program, and just beautiful people, amazing people. They were in their hometown a few months ago now, we had a banquet in Dryden, quick testimony, and Big Jeff, like everyone else is kind of like average height, like me, you know. Jeff is a big guy, and he used to be feared by the law. And Ray Dawn, who's on the far right, she was in Dryden, which is not a huge town, but she was. I think there was 28 stores. She told me that had permanently like kicked her out, and she could never come back. And that's how, you know, that's the kind of reputation they had. And so we had this banquet, and they all came out in the front, and they did this dramatic testimony called Truth versus Reality. And it was just so amazing because I'm sitting at the table here with like 3 police officers, fully uniformed police officers, and next to them was the Crown Prosecutor and all of these people. And you know what they said to me? They said, we're here to see Ray Dawn. We want to hear this testimony because we hear that her life has been changed. Isn't that cool? Isn't that, I mean, that's Jesus, right? We're big on Jesus, okay? No apologies for that. But that's why I had to put that in there. But let's go to the next slide. I wanted to show you a quick chart. And if you have this paper in front of you, I just wanted to show you in the next slide that God has a great plan for you. God also had a great plan for Israel. Did you know that? God wanted Israel to be successful. In fact, if we know anything about Joshua's leadership was defined by conquering, right? His leadership was a transitional leadership. They went into the promised land and they had a bunch of battles. So what I want to point out here tonight is, if you look, there's a place of battle which usually implied who their opponents were. And if you notice that the first battle was against what? Jericho, right? And then if you go against, Israel fought, and who was the victor? It was Israel, right? Right? But right after Jericho, this thing with Achan happened, right? And so he had a hidden sin, and he brought down everybody. And what happened right after that? At Ai, who was the victor? On the far right, on the second one from the top, kind of small. Ai was the victor, right? I just want you to check that out for a second, because you notice that it shows the opponents, it shows the columns of who was victorious and stuff. And if you see that Jericho, and then you see that they lost to Ai, and that was the time that Achan was found out, and they cleaned that up, and they purified themselves as a nation, and then you see they went on a 10 battle winning streak right after that. Isn't that interesting? That's really interesting. These are things I don't like to see in some ways, because I'm a grace kind of guy. So this is me being counterintuitive according to my own nature. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, actually 11 straight victories happened if you do the math. Anybody know how to count? I think I had it wrong before. I said 10. But you see the significance of obedience? You see the significance of that? Sorry? Oh, I thought so. So God said to them, "This is what I want from you," and he was holy enough to show them that he was serious, right? So slide. I want to show you something tonight. It's a picture of a boat. It's not my boat, okay? Just for the record. But imagine if I was trying to sell you a boat, okay? This just made sense for me. If this doesn't make sense for you, then just press pause, put on the Jeopardy music for now. But this makes sense for me. Imagine if I were trying to sell you a boat, and you came to my driveway, and you're looking at my boat, you're walking around, and you're taking a close look at this, and you're taking a close look at that, and you walk around to the other side, and you walk by, and you do a double take, and you're like, there's a hole there. There's a hole in that boat. And I'm like, it's just a hole. Like it's like the size of about a toonie, you know? It's like, I mean, come on, it's just a hole. And you're like, yeah, but it's a hole. And I'm like, yeah, but it's in amazing shape. It's got like a 250 outboard Merc, and it's got pilot assist. It's got all of these amazing things about it. And you're like, but there's a hole. And I'm like, yeah, but it's got all the features that you want. Like it's got a great towing package for 2 skiers, not just one, and you can do all sorts of things with it. What kind of problems could a small hole be? And you're like, it's a hole. right? But I'm like, just relax, okay? Like, honestly, look at how big the boat is. It's just a small little hole. And you're like, it's a hole, right? There's a problem here, right? Because the bilge pump, how many of you have been in a boat before or know, how big is the bilge pump hole? It's like about this big, right? There's a problem. Because as soon as that boat looks really good until it hits the water, right? And then it looks good at the bottom of the water, at the bottom of the lake. You know what I mean? There's a hole there. And so sometimes that's how we treat our lives, because we're like, we see that there's a small problem, and we see that there's a small little weight that we're holding, and we think, well, what's the big deal here? What's the big deal? And God says to us, he says, there's a hole, but I know how to fix it. But you gotta let me, you gotta let me put it down. The hole, it might be yesterday, it might be the burden you're carrying. We treat our lives a lot like that, friends, right? We're going into the lake with our boat, and we quickly realize that the small problem multiplies into a pretty big problem very quickly. Part of obeying God is obeying the leaders that he's put into our lives, right? Whether we like them or not. I just want to do something here tonight, and it's a way for us to just look at inside of ourselves and inside of our history. And this is just a guide, okay? Call it a miniature version of a deliverance. Something that you can maybe do on a daily basis, or on a somewhat regular basis for your life, just to ask yourself these questions. Lord, what are you revealing to me about the holes that are in my life, about the dead weight that I'm carrying, right? And so they're written down for you if you have those papers, but I'm also going to put them on the screen shortly. But there's some space. If you have some space, if you have a place to write something down, just kind of reflect on this. Partly tonight, but we won't take a lot of time with this. But I just want us to take a look into ourselves, because the best thing that we can do sometimes is to be honest with ourselves, right? And so one of the things I'm just gonna, sorry brother, I'm gonna do this. I need to know what everybody's looking at. Sorry. One of the things that if we go to the next slide, I just want to ask 10 questions tonight, okay? This is just a guide. So it's just a little bit practical. This might be just something that you can look at and reflect prayerfully on your own time. So that's why I won't take a lot of time with this. But these are things that it's good for us to, this is big for us in our ministry, is just for us to constantly be looking into our lives. When I was pastoring in Winkler, anybody know Pastor Claude Laney in Winkler? Some maybe not. But he would always say, sometimes we look for the devil everywhere, and I'm not trying to do that today. He had a great saying. He would say sometimes it's like we go into a room and we just swing our bats everywhere, trying to hit demons just in case we hit one, just in case there's one there. That's not what I'm not that kind of person. In fact, when our students will share testimonies, I will say to them, please don't focus on the devil. Don't give him airtime, because how we sometimes will be like, oh, that devil. And that devil's right after me today, boy, I'll tell you. That devil. And I'm like, Jesus, where's Jesus in all of this? You know what I mean? Like quit talking about your enemy and start talking about who's with you, beside you. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. And I just want to focus though on and draw that out. So here's the questions. What kind of bondage are you facing right now? Maybe there's something, maybe there's a fear, a depression, guilt, shame, voices in your mind. Maybe there's mental illness that you're facing down right now. Maybe there's physical illness. Maybe there's mental torment, spiritual torment. Those are just some of the things that you might want to reflect on, just to identify. What are you praying against? What are you battling right now? Number 2, do you remember when this bondage started? Was it at a certain time in your life? Was it at a certain time this last year? What type of time frame was it? And what time did this start? Number 3, can you see any unconfessed sins or open doors where the bondage may have entered through. Number 4, have you or your ancestors been involved? These are just some examples, but have they been involved in some occult or false religions? Maybe secret societies, Freemasonry, seeking occult power, or fortune told, or something like that. Just something that would tie you to that. One of the things this created a response. Just when I was, for example, at our women's campus, a lot of women that come into our program. This is not a weakness for women, but this is just something that they have struggled through a lot. Is that they have found their value in making sure they always have a man in their life. And believe it or not, that has led them to a lot of addictions because they felt like they were not complete unless they were in a relationship. A lot of men go through that where they don't feel like if they have value because of they don't have a certain amount of possessions. Maybe there's something that has a hold of our life. Number 5, do you have any ancestors or family members who have suffered from a similar kind of bondage? Number 6, this is such a honest one, like where you can just be honest with yourself, and then with a really close friend if you want, or someone that is like a father or mother figure to you. But how do you see yourself? That's so important. How do you see yourself? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel low self-esteem? Do you feel confident? Do you feel weak? Do you feel scared or fearful? How do you see yourself? You see yourself as God sees you. Number 7, is there anything in your life that has been or is currently troubling you? Go down the list, right? But it's a great conversation to have, honestly, with yourself and maybe with a friend. Number 8, what was your relationship with your parents like when you were growing up? So a lot of bondages begin in childhood, right? Because a child is much more sensitive and easily damaged by adults, and they carry stuff. If a person has a rough upbringing, it can result in a lot of unresolved problems later in their life. Hurt feelings, right? And they may never say anything, because depending on what kind of character they are, they might either just be super aggressive or super passive or passive aggressive or whatever. Number 9, what things have negatively impacted your life that you have not dealt with? Maybe there was like we talked about, there's maybe a traumatic experience or a deeper, all sin is sin, but maybe there was like a deeper sin that has a hold on you, like a soul tied to somebody, right? Or like that you have felt like you have sold yourself to something, right? Bad relationships. A lot of people that come into our programs, and is it okay if I use our programs as examples? Because I find that actually our program is a microcosm of what's really happening in general in society, right? Because like, here's a little freebie for you, but just because I've never been in the adult and teen challenge program, but just because I never had a needle in my arm or a problem with a bottle or a container of pills doesn't mean I don't have addiction problems in my life, right? It doesn't mean that something doesn't have a hold of me sometimes. Look at me. Don't look at your neighbor or anything. Look at me. You know what I'm talking about, right? Things can have a hold of our lives. We pursue money. We pursue possessions. So just honestly talking to ourselves and asking ourselves, what has impacted me and has a hold of my life? Number 10, and this is the most important question, because it's number 10, but yet it's number 1, if you know what I mean. Do you feel truly loved by God for who you are? Do you feel worthy to be free? Have you answered yourself that question lately? Because you would think the obvious answer is, of course, I want to be free. But if you're honest, do you feel worthy to be free? Or do you feel like it'd be better for one more day of me putting those automatic deposits to my enemy so that he can have hold of my thoughts and that I can feel like if I'm not worthy? Do you know that you're worthy of the love of God? Do you know that you are worthy of his great price? It was a big price. But you are worthy of that. God wants us to be free. We read this, we looked at this last night. John 8:36, if the Son will set you free, you are free indeed. But it's so funny how that works, because sometimes we prefer our prison cells. It's actually a real thing. There's a lot of prisoners that especially are in long-term sentences, that they have just gotten so used to being in prison that they are actually afraid to be released. They're afraid of it because they know that they would rather live in the confinement of what they know. Oh, that just came to me. That's a good word. Maybe you would rather live in the confinement of what you know than walk in the freedom of what you don't know. Right? Thank you, Lord. The problem is not on God's end, because God wants you to be free. So I want to make just a brief comment as well. This has been very helpful to me as well. If you need a copy of this, just we have copies of this, but there's one page called Stronghold Busting. This has been really good for me. Okay, so this is me just taking a very brief look at my life. The activity for yourself will be about a half hour. We're not going to go through this tonight. But are you okay if I give you some practical tips like this? This is for me as much as it is for you. So this has helped me a lot. So it's taking about maybe half an hour to really go and ask God, search my heart. Psalm 139, it finishes, David says, search my heart, Lord. See if there's any offensive way with me, and lead me in the way everlasting, right? That's how he says in Psalm 139. So, identify something that is always coming around into your head, okay? So just what is a stronghold that you want to overcome? Identify the lie that you've been believing, and then describe what the lie has done to your life, okay? So you say, Lord, I acknowledge that I have had a struggle in this area. I acknowledge that this struggle has made me believe that I am not worthy of your love because of it. But then what you do in step number 4 is you identify Bible verses that speak to that, right? So you might say, I acknowledge the lie that I am not worthy of God's love. But I believe, as your word says, that you did not spare your own son, but you gave him up for me. And so how will you not also, along with him, graciously give me all things, right? So that you might use that as an example. That's just coming to my mind right now. And then you write that out as a declaration, and you read the Bible verses out, and you put them into your declaration. And here's what you do. Do it for 40 days. Just test it. What do you have to lose, right? Stronghold busting is what we call it. It's like it's something that we got from some people in Winnipeg that work with Freedom in Christ Ministries. It's really good. It's really good stuff. Like sometimes we think that deliverance and freedom has to have a really big process and stuff. This is a really great way to motivate us and be reminded that we are victorious. And just do it for 40 days. See if anything changes. I think it will. Okay? Is that fair? Are you guys with me? Yes. Are we tracking here tonight? Okay. How's our time? Okay. The other tool that I've put into here, and this this was really powerful with one individual that I was able to pray last night, because sometimes we don't know how to pray for our loved ones, especially if they are in a stronghold, because we're just like, Jesus, just go into their life, but we don't know how to pray for them. This is such a great prayer, you guys. You look at yourself a little bit, and you identify any strongholds that they have on you, but then you intercede for your loved ones. So if you feel like you have total lack of control over a son or a daughter or a mother or father or brother or sister or friend that is making some really bad decisions, but maybe they don't want to be in any contact with you, and they don't want to be any part of your life, this is a great way to intercede for them. We're big on prayer. We're big on Jesus. We're big on prayer. Can I just, I'll just say this. I know that I said this, I think, the other day already, but I'm going to say it again. Dakin, can you stand up? Preston, can you stand up? David, can you stand up? Okay. Why don't you stand up as well? Yeah, Esther. And I'm just going to use us as an example here. Just some of us that have been on a journey lately. You know what I mean? We've just been on a journey lately. Do you know that everyone that's standing in this room is an answer to somebody's prayer? Boom! Right? Isn't that cool? Come on, let's give the Lord a hand tonight, right? Somebody has been praying. They're an answer to somebody's prayer. And so you can sit down. Thanks, guys. So, and that includes me, by the way, as well. And so imagine if we could effectively intercede with some amazing words. This is amazing. Just take a look at it and just read through it and just believe this for your loved one and the situation that you are going through. Slide. I want to talk tonight about one decision. As we're getting ready to close here tonight, maybe another 10-15 minutes. But this is really this is huge for me. I've been looking a lot at this concept of one decision lately. Did you know that one decision, no matter how small, it can change the bigger steps of your life? Did you know that? And you probably did already, right? But here's what I found out. So it's estimated that we make about 35,000 decisions a day. Did you know that? Seriously. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. And the vast majority of your decisions, you're not even going to think about. Obviously, that's how you can get to 35,000. But things like itching your arm when you get a mosquito bite, right? We don't really think about stuff like that. Or putting one foot in front of the other one when you're walking, right? Or slapping your husband when he speaks to you. Just decisions that you don't even think about, right? And stuff like that. But we make, just kidding. We make decisions that, so many decisions, like like just now, I licked my lips because they were dry. Just things like that. We do decisions, many decisions we will never even think about, but a lot of decisions we do have control over, right? You understand what I'm saying? And so, how do you measure your decisions? So for a long time, maybe you have defined your decisions by what would please you in the moment, right? So again, going back to our world, Adult to Teen Challenge, we have chosen to go with the decisions that we know will just please us in the moment. So those are called momentary pleasure, because that's the way our mind and our brain is trained. But imagine if we would decide to make decisions that just like one or two deliberate decisions every single day that would change slowly the trajectory of your life. So I'll give you an example. So let's say you're holding a compass and you're out on the lake. Let's say now tell me if I'm wrong. I heard Rock Lake is about 8 miles long. Is that true? It's a pretty long lake. Anybody know that? Yeah, it's like a narrow and long lake, right? And so not a very deep lake, but it's just really long and narrow. And so let's say you start at one end of Rock Lake and your compass is at like a certain degree. You're at 35 degrees and it's going straight out. And you decide to change your degree to 34 degrees. Do you think after 10 feet you would notice anything? Not really, right? After 100 feet, you still would be able to jump from one boat to the other. You know what I mean? Like it would be just very minor. But after 8 miles, you think there would be a difference? Yeah. Absolutely there would be, right? That's what little small decisions do in our lives. They pull us, they either pull us towards or pull us away, or push us towards or pull us away from being strong and courageous, for example. I heard this story. I've been trying to purposely tell more stories. So I want to tell you a story about Dick Rowe, 1962. He was an executive with a record company called Decca Records. So check this out. Like, if we're not going to play secular music here tonight, but this is just about secular music, okay? But Dick Rowe, this guy, he didn't really know as much as he should have about music, even though he was an executive in a record company. He thought, check this out, he thought that guitar groups were falling out of favor. Okay, so what I mean by that is, like, he thought that groups led by guitarists or just like bass guitars, electric guitars, acoustic guitars. That's an old thing. That's not going to really be coming back again. And so what he did was on New Year's Day that year, there was a guitar band that auditioned for Decca Records, okay? And 1 month later, when Dick heard their audition tape, it was 15 tracks, and it was like those 12-inch audio tapes. He passed on signing the band on their tryout. He passed on signing them. It was a small decision, right? But it was the wrong decision, because you know who he passed on? It was like some band called the Beatles, all right? It's kind of crazy when you think about it. He passed on the Beatles. He passed on the Beatles, right? Like some people, I'm not a Beatles fan in particular, but man, you have to have a lot of respect for a band that has in many ways, they did change a lot of things about history, and just the way that, in their music and stuff, and the way that they elevated and the popularity of their brand of music. The Beatles, they went on to sign with a label called EMI, and they released 8 albums through that label, and it's estimated that at the end of the summer of '67, they had made $38.5 million, and they, in 1968, they launched their own record label, and in no time, like, they were worth more than $50 million, and now it's like hundreds of millions of dollars that their label has been worth. And what I just found so interesting about that was it was all because of Dick Rowe. You know what I mean? Like the guy didn't deserve to have a job, if you think about it like that. And so many times, we make little decisions and we don't understand what the consequences are, right? And so, are you prepared to realize that if you want to work towards a successful future, that the things that you decide to do every single day will add up to shifting in a whole different direction? So you want to change the world? Make your bed every morning, and some people will be like, what are you talking about? Well, maybe there's just one little disciplinary thing that you might want to change about. This is just practically speaking now, but there might be one little disciplinary thing that you want to change that will change the entire trajectory of where your life is heading. It's really powerful when you think about it, right? You want to change the world, do a small thing. That's why people, men and women that come into our long-term program, that's why so many things are about the little things and doing them right every single day. Maybe I'm just using examples, but maybe it's just that decision of 10 minutes earlier getting up, if that's a struggle for you. I'm not talking to the parents in this room, by the way, because you already get up earlier than you need to. But I'm just talking about some of us, that could be a discipline. You know what I mean? Bless the parents. I'm definitely not talking about them, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean, right? The little things. I want to talk, slide. I want to just tell you, in one final story tonight, I want to tell you about a guy named Daniel. Daniel had a lot of plans in his life. This is a true story. He was in university. He was studying to become a doctor, and he was well on his way. And one day his father got sick, and he didn't know how to deal with the pain. And so he's well on his way to success. He's well on his way to developing a great future for himself and stuff. His dad got sick. His dad had ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, and I remember I work with him. That's the punchline, but we'll get to that in a second. But I remember hearing him say that, I was studying to become a medical professional, but yet here was a disease that had no cure. That didn't make sense to me, And so it hardened his heart, and so very quickly, his father died, and so he very quickly tried many different ways to numb the pain. Hard drugs, alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, mushrooms. Nothing worked, and he found himself in and out of jail and deeper in that despair. And at some point, he ended up in the same jail and being the cellmate of a guy named Jason. And this is where the story kind of gets crazy, because he found himself running into Jason. He was in the same cell as Jason, and one day Jason says to Daniel, he says, they've been bugging us to go to chapel. And Jason says, I think I'm going to go to chapel. that was Jason's one decision, right? So Jason went to chapel that night in jail, and Jason accepted the Lord. And sometime later, Jason was released from jail. Sometime later, Daniel was released from jail. And Daniel lost track of Jason, but he found himself running into old contacts. As soon as he was into drugs again, Daniel was. And he even started selling them. He was going deeper and deeper than he had ever gone. And one evening, Daniel found himself in Winnipeg, and he was about to do a drug deal. He found out that I'm reading this because I want to get the details right. He found out that a drug deal had gone bad, and he decided that he wanted to give a violent payback to the person that had made the deal go bad, and he wanted to give that person revenge. And he knew that his revenge would probably cost him in some way or other. And so check this out. So Daniel contacted his mom, and he wanted to meet with his mom. And what she didn't know is he wanted to say goodbye to her just in case something went wrong, because he was going to go hurt somebody that night. And she says, no, I'm only going to meet you in a coffee shop. And so they went to a Tim Hortons in Winnipeg. And as he vaguely told her about his plans, because he didn't want her to really know, and that she likely wouldn't see him again for a while, she began to cry. And it was this moment that an amazing thing happened. There was a familiar face that walked into the door and right up to Daniel. And you don't think God works. And the face went right up to Daniel, and Daniel was ready to get up and defend himself, because this guy was weird. He's looking at me, and he's coming right at me, and he's already jacked up and ready for what he was going to do that evening. And he said, Daniel, do you remember me? It's Jason. And remember we shared the cell together and stuff. And I have no idea why I'm running into you tonight, but God just told me to tell you that whatever you're supposed to do tonight, you're not supposed to do. That this really happened, okay? He walks up to him, and of course Daniel had his guard up, and he's like, what's going to happen with this guy? This is like a weirdo with joy in his face that's coming towards me. It must be fake. And Daniel found out from Jason, and Jason proceeded to tell him that evening that after he had left jail and made that one decision to go to chapel, right? After that, he had decided to go into a program that was called Adult and Teen Challenge. And he said, Daniel, it's changed my life. I've never been the same person again. And if God did that for me, he can do that for you, he said to Daniel. And Daniel's like, this is bunk. This is what's going on here, what is this weird guy doing? And yeah, I remember him and stuff. But that night, Daniel got an invitation from his mom. His mom pleaded with him, and she said, Daniel, just come home with me tonight. Just come home with me tonight. And you know what? That evening, Daniel made one decision. He went home with his mom that night. And Daniel eventually as well, he decided to go into the Adult and Teen Challenge program. And not only did he finish the program, he went through, we have an internal training program called Surge. It's kind of like a emerging leaders, people that graduate. And Daniel went through that program. It completely changed his life. He began to become a leader within the ministry. I've worked with him now for 11 years, and just about 2 years ago now, Daniel became the CEO and president of Adult and Teen Challenge of Central Canada. Don't tell me God can't do it, okay? Don't tell me that your one insignificant decision is not something that God is at work in, okay? I work with Daniel and Katie, his wife, and Stephen. I was actually golfing with Daniel and Stephen just 2 days ago, and don't tell me that God doesn't do amazing things, okay? I'm gonna drop the mic, not the new mic. I'm gonna put it down, okay? It's a figure of speech. Settle down, Matthew. But we're gonna drop the mic. We're gonna be out of here after this weekend. You might never see us again. But I want you to remember one thing about us and our time here. Well, one thing in two parts. Jesus makes a difference in your life and has a plan for your brokenness. Okay? And secondly, it will invariably come down to the one decision that you make. That's it. That's what I want to tell you tonight. And so all because of one decision, this happened, that happened. That's a crazy picture on the left, right? I said to Daniel, I said, send me some before and after pictures. And I was like, whoa, he sent them all right, you know what I mean? And I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is now a man who leads, like we don't, anything that we boast is in the Lord, but he now is a leader of a ministry that has 120 staff across 3 time zones, and I have the privilege of being part of under his leadership, and I'm thinking to myself, why do we, with our limited decision making and mindset, sometimes think that God has a limit to what he can do? I'm going to decide that my decision is going to matter, whatever I decide to do. I'm going to start making habits every day that are going to point towards something that might be successful a little bit now, but it's going to create great success in the future. I'm going to be less sloppy with my lifestyle. It all adds up to things. Little things change big things. Small decisions, making one step into the Jordan River, right? Making one, we looked at this last night, but I just want to close with this. Joshua made a very key decision. Bringing this back to Joshua, he made a very key decision when God called him. Remember in Joshua 1 verse 1 to 9, strong and courageous, strong and courageous, strong and courageous. We don't have to read it again, but it says like the very next verse, it says, so Joshua called the people together and he said, get ready, because we're going to go into the promised land. He had full obedience. He made his decision. He made his one decision. It doesn't say he Googled how to cross Jordan River when you're scared. He didn't. He didn't go on an online chat forum to see how many thousands of opinions he could get. Because there's lots of opinions out there, right? Do what God is telling you to do. Because everybody has an opinion about stuff. Seriously, if I would ask everybody in this room, what do you think of my shoes? And they'd be like, everybody would have an opinion. And I don't care. Because I did what God told me to do. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying tonight? So the last slide, I just want, these are reflection questions. This is what we do. We reflect. Okay? What direction am I waiting on right now? What are you waiting on right now? So this is it for tonight. But what direction are you waiting for right now in your life? Is there something that you're at a crossroads? I went walking yesterday morning and this morning, and I came to that first mile road where the stop sign is from the highway that comes from the town out there, Pilot Bound, and I came to, it's just such a cool intersection because like straight ahead is just endless road, and straight to the left is endless road, and straight to the right. And some of you are there right now. Some of you are at that stop sign right now. I'm just maybe your time here is a time where you can, where God can speak to you. You know, I saw like lots of great stuff happening when I'm here. I go down to the beach this afternoon, and you know, there's a couple people just sitting over there, just talking, and I could just tell there's ministry happening there. And then I go over, and you go into the dining room, and you can just tell ministry's happening there. And then you go into that place, and you can just tell ministry's happening there. Listen, some of you have come here, and you know why you came here. Maybe you're looking for direction. Some of you have come here, and you don't know why you came here. Maybe it's to minister to someone that is looking for direction. And maybe you're going to be that voice for them. That's why this is a beautiful place, led by beautiful people. And so the second question is, what's one decision that I can make right now? So let's just wait on the Lord a little bit. And Dave, lead as you feel led, of course. And then I want to just be available as always. But I want to close in prayer, and then you can worship, stay, go and minister to somebody else outside of this room. But let's just kind of make this an altar room for a while after this. Is that okay? Okay. So can we just worship? Father, in the name of Jesus, right now, I pray for 5 people that are crucial intersections in their lives. That's the number I'm getting. So there's 5 people, and you are very intently looking for direction right now. Lord, I just pray that right now you would show them any strongholds that might be preventing them from moving into that direction. Lord, I pray that there would, in this room, there's some people in this room that are struggling with idols, and it felt like they were just playthings, they were just toys for a while, but they've kind of become idols. And my purpose isn't to step on toes here tonight, but it is to speak truth, and so that's the truth. For some of you, you have been carrying. This will always be our theme, but you've been carrying that burden, those empty and dead weight items that just basically make your legs sore. They don't do anything else for you because you just keep carrying dead weight. Be released of that right now. Be released of that. Be willing to release it, because sometimes we like to hold on to the payment plan. And so I just pray freedom right now for someone that is doing that. I pray for someone right now in this room that is really struggling with. They have a prompting in their heart for a small decision that they know they need to make, and it feels like you kind of feel like it's such a small thing, but I don't want to go there, because if I go there, then it's going to be one thing will lead to another thing, will lead to another thing. But maybe that's what God is asking of you. Maybe it's something about your health. It's just a health decision. Just a little thing. So Father, right now I pray for all of those needs that have come here tonight. I pray that you would restore joy right now where it has been abandoned, and it has left someone feeling empty in this room, God. I pray that a great first step for them tonight would be that you would return to them the joy of their salvation, and then things would start being added to them, God. Lord, I pray for someone in this room right now that has lost their ability to feel grateful for things, and I speak against and I pray against a spirit of cynicism in this room. Someone that feels like, what in the world is happening to this world? It's going to hell, and I don't think I can do anything about it. Lord, I just pray that would be gone right now in Jesus' name, and that they would embrace and understand that you are still doing great things. Father, I pray for someone in this room that is feeling prompted for the very first time to receive Jesus as their Savior. There is no better day than today. Today is the day of salvation. So let them do that, Lord. Let them do it quickly, and let them do it enthusiastically and without hesitation. Thank you for your love, Lord. Thank you for your grace. Can I ask, as you are able, can you stand here tonight? And can we just put ourselves into a posture of receiving here this evening? And thank you for joining us here this evening. Thank you for being a blessing to the people around you. But as we stand, can we just worship tonight? And can we just worship our way out of here? If you need prayer tonight, I'm here. Others are here. You know who